Good day, students. It's a pleasure that I'll be taking this subject with you, which is computer literacy. My name is Miss Beatrice, and then I'll be taking you through the importance and the key aspect of computer literacy. So what is really needed for us to know about computers, and that's why it's called literacy. You just need to know the basics of computers. Okay, for us to understand the terms computers and what is really expected of us when it comes to computer literacy, we first need to understand the term computer. Okay, a computer is a component that performs tasks, right? It's a component that performs tasks. Most of us have seen computers. We have used computers. Now, how does the computer work? Now, for the computer to work, we have what you call hardware and software, right? So now, for us to understand how we can operate with computers, we need to understand the term hardware, and then we also need to understand the term software, whereby the hardware, these are the physical components of a computer. For example, a mouse, a keyboard, a monitor, and some other stuff that probably I forgot to mention. This makes up the hardware of a computer. So now, how does it work? Can a computer hardware just work on their own? Of course not. They can only work with what we call a software. So what is a software? Okay, in short, we call it SW. A software is a program that is installed, or we put it inside hardware, and these ones are the ones that can able to help us perform task. A task is when, like, for example, when you want to type, what kind of typing skills or what kind of typing would you need to do? So we use them via what you call software. Okay. So now, when it comes to computers, we need to understand how the data comes in the computers. So we look at the terms. Okay. So now it is a computer. So now, for us to understand, we need to know the computer hardwares or the devices that can help us input information. So now, when we are talking of computer, we have to talk about what you call data and information. So now we described what a software is. Once a software is installed inside a computer, then we will need to know what's a data and then what is an information. A data, these are what you call raw facts or raw data. It's basically just, it's raw facts. Things that we can use to put inside the computer. And then information, this is what we produce. So we produce information coming from what we call a data. Like, for example, one of the data I can give you, for example, is my name. My name is Esther and my surname is Beatrice. I'm probably 45, and when I am going to process that information, I'll say the lady that is giving us a class for computer literacy is called Esther Beatrice, and she is 45 years of age. That is what you call information. So now, for us to understand now the aspect of what you call a data and then what's called information, now we need to know the type of information or type of hardware, what happens really when it comes to a computer. All right. So now we look at what you call input, and we have what you call process part, and the third part is output. Now, looking at the computer hardware, we spoke of a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor, etc. So now, which help us input in the data in the computer. Inputs, we are looking at something like a keyboard. Like, for you to type in data, you use a keyboard, for example. We can use a mouse. We can use a monitor. When we are talking of a monitor, is a screen. So now these simple hardware parts, they help us to input in the information, the data inside the computer. So the process part here, we have what we call CPU. I'll talk to you about central processing unit a bit later. So now we also need to look at what kind of hardwares help us to output our data. Can you think of any? We can think of how do we get our visual aids or visual data out of a computer. We have what we call a CD. That's why we have sound coming out of a computer through a CD. We have what you call speakers. Okay. In what way can you get information out of a computer? We have USB, flash drives, DVDs, and so many. So you need to know, specify the types of hardware that can help you to input the data inside the computer, and what kind of hardware can help you to output out of that. Like let's say you have typed your CV inside a computer. What can help you output that? Most of the people use what you call USB. Some of us we use hard drives. Okay, it just depends on the size of that kind of a hardware. Okay. So now we use personal computers. We use personal computers at home, at work, at our works. So now looking at the types of softwares, we have now softwares. We have what we call operating systems. So, or they call, in my explanation, I'll call it a first-hand software. So once a computer is produced, we need to install in. The term installation, this is a process of putting softwares inside a computer. Putting software inside the computer. Okay, so what you call installation. So now the first hand softwares that we put inside the computers, they are called operating systems. Okay, and we have now types of operating systems. It's very much necessary for a computer literacy student to get to understand the types of operating systems. Okay, they comes in two different ways. We have what we call Mac or Mac, and we have what we call Windows. Alright, so Mac, these are used specifically or straight for Apple products. Okay, Apple products, when we are talking of Apple products, are, for example, MacBook strictly has only Mac operating systems, and Windows is used for any other types of computers. Do you know any of types of computers? We use Samsungs, we have HP, we have Acer, we have so many different types of brands of computers. Okay, so now we install in what we call operating system as the first hand, and then this operating system, now these are the applications that comes in, built-in applications that you can use. Like for example, if you want to use what we call Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Excel, we can use this type of information. So now, what are the different types of operating systems though? So now we spoke of Windows. Okay, now we have different versions of Windows. They came really from way back. And so far we are standing at Windows 10. This is mostly the one that is currently used. We had Windows 8, we had Windows 7, we had Windows XP, we had Windows Vista, and so forth. As years are coming up, the generation of versions are being generated from time to time. So now, as for Mac, we also have different types of operating system for Mac. Okay, And then another type of, this is the first one, the second, third, we have another third, we call it Linux or Unix, are also types of operating systems. Where do we use this one? We use them in ordinary computers like these ones, but they don't work in the same way. Okay, Linux comes with its own built-in softwares. There is no way you can come download the software from a computer, from internet I mean, and then you can install it inside this. They come with their own built-in softwares. Example of a Linux and Unix, we have what we call Solaris. We have Ubuntu. Some I forgot, I can't recall, but we have so many types of. So now when you are thinking of softwares, operating systems, think of Windows, Linux or Unix or Mac, and then think of now what are the versions of this kind of operating systems. Okay. So now thinking of operating systems, we can move on. Some of operating systems are what we call graphical user interface. When you're talking of a graphical user interface, in short we call it graphical GUI or GUI. Okay, when you're talking of user interfaces, this is end users are the people that are using operating system, which can be you or it can be me. And some of now operating systems, they are based on graphical user interface. Okay, so graphical user interfaces allows users to interact with a piece of software by selecting items from a screen and then execute it in a command rather than typing in or performing tasks, right? Like as you can see on the screen, this is a command prompt. So some of them, they can help us to, like, graphical user interface. You cannot do the clicking part of things, but you can only use the keyboard and stuff. Okay. These are the versions of operating systems, and then it continues. We just need to understand. So now what else can we learn now from computer literacy? So now we need to know the types of computers. What are the types of computers? Types of computers, we can have what we call supercomputers. We have what we call microcomputers. We have mini computers. We have desktops and laptops. We have PDAs, for example, tablets. Those are types of computers. We need to know what type of a computer you're using. Is a phone a type of a computer? One would argue and say yes, it is. One would say no. But a phone, I think it can also be considered one type of a computer in these worldly new days. So PDAs, what do we use PDAs for? These are small computers, enough to hold in your hand, like tablets. You can hold it inside. You can hold it with your own hands, on your palm hands. So what are the uses of PDAs, for example? You can appoint calendars, address books, calculators, connect to PCs and stuff. Okay? Now, one important aspect when it comes to computers is that we need to talk about servers. What is a server? So a server is a computer that manages files and other resources for a network. Okay? Because when in computer literacy, you also need to understand networks. How do computers work? How do we share resources? We share resources in the form of what we call a network. So now a network is just not when we are talking about internet. Yes, it's internet. But when we are talking of a network, is when two computers, let's say computer A and computer B, two computers together trying to share information, and that is what you call a network. So now when we are sharing information now via a network, we access them from what we call a server. So basically a server is a central storage of information. Like let's say someone comes up with information and then we store them. Like let's say you have 4 lecturers and then each lecture maybe gives you 4 subjects, and then they want to share notes with you, past assignments or past question papers. They can put them in what we call a server, and then these computers can communicate. Like computer A can access information or request information from the server, and then like that. So now in that process we call them, this is a process of, and then we call it a network. Okay, and then a server, that is a central storage of information when it comes to networks. So now what are some of the devices now that we need to use when we are using now servers? Some information can be a printer. We can use emails. Emails is one of the things that we use. Internet. Okay, I'll talk about internet in a while. We have scanners. We can also use those type of devices. Okay, so the type of input devices, I just discussed a little bit this a while ago, where I spoke about input devices. We need to know the type of input devices that can help us input the data inside the computer, such as a keyboard or mouse. Okay, and we can also think of now what kind of output devices are out there. As I said, we can have speakers, we can also have microphone, digital recorders, etc. And where do you put a web camera? Most of the computers nowadays, they come in with a built-in camera. Is that an input or output? That's for you to go think about it and then go read more about it. All right. Okay. So now let's think of now storage computers, storage information or devices. Things like USB. Those are storage. They are used for storing information. They are really important as they are used for saving or storing softwares. Okay, they help us to provide means of saving your work frequently, and then you are not going to lose your information. And then the good part about it is that you can carry it wherever you are going, and then you bring it with. Like let's say you are carrying work from work to home, or from home to work, or from home to school, like that. They are really, really much important. So now what more can we learn in computer literacy? Let me see. Apart from knowing the types of computers, which are supercomputers, mini computers, mainframe computers, laptops and phones, and etc., we also need to know now the types of, like for example, how does one access information, like in a form of networks. I said networks. This is a way of sharing information. We share information, okay, via networks. Okay, now in networks we have types of networks. I'm not gonna go deep into with you with what the types of networks, but I'm just gonna list the types of networks with you. Okay, we have what we call local area network, in short it's LAN. We have what we call wide area network. We have also what we call metropolitan area network. So what is the difference between these types of network? A local area network covers a small geographical area. For example, a network that is set up in an office, that can be called what you call a local area network. It doesn't cover a bigger space. It's like this in a building. And then a wide area network, it covers a wide geographical area. For example, we can think of like city, Windhoek or Tsumeb, for example. The sharing of networks within that city then is what we call a wide area network. And a metropolitan area network is like a coverage of a bigger, larger region. For example, Namibia, for example. How is the network utilized in Namibia, or how do they share network within Namibia? That platform is what we call a metropolitan area network. Okay, so now if I may ask you the difference between a network and internet, what will you tell me? Network and internet. What do you think? There is a difference? Okay, of course, slightly there is a difference. A network is two or more computers connected together with a reason of sharing information. Okay, that's what we call a network. And internet, this is what we call a world wide web, which is www. Okay, world wide web, with the purpose of sharing information as well. But we are sharing information in what form? Worldwide. You can put your information in a server. As I said, we put information in servers. Even in the internet, we have servers, but this server can be accessed by everybody all over the world. But in the small network, like local area network, this network can only be accessed within people that are within that area. Now that's the difference. You should get to know the difference between network and internet. All right, this is a worldwide. It can be accessed by everybody, and it can be with a network. It can be used only for those people that are around. Okay, so one aspect that I want us to talk about when it comes to internet, how does one go on internet? That's when I'm going to talk about search engines. What is a search engine? So when a person goes in www, I want to access information. So we have what we call a search engine. This is an engine that's like a server, for example. A server, for example, that has information, a bundle of information. So now what we need to understand is what are the different types of search engine. Okay, we have what we call Google. We can search information on Google. This is one of a search engine. We have what we call Bing. We have what we call Yahoo, etc. We have so many of them. Search engines, they help us to search information from where? From internet, via what we call www, stand for World Wide Web, which makes up an internet. So search engines, they act as servers on internet, whereby we can able to access information. And how do we do that? Now, to access now the search engines, we need to know what we call web browsers. What are web browsers? Web browsers are browsers that they can help us to access now the information from search engine. It is simple in this way. Let's say you are searching for information called, maybe you have a subject called computer literacy. You want to search more information. Computer literacy, you will go to the web browser first in your computer, and you are going to search engine. Okay, search engine. So now a web browser is the one that it's installed in our computer. It is a web browser is a type of a software that we install in our computer so that we can able to access internet. So now we just need to know different types of web browsers. Which one do you know of? I know of Firefox. I know of Google Chrome. We have Internet Explorer. We have Opera Mini for the phones. We have Safari. We have Max 10, etc. Okay, these are the types of micro web browsers. People always get confused between the web browser and the search engine. Search engine is the engine that where we can able to find information. But how do you get access to that? We get access to that through what we call a web browser. You can go on Google Chrome, Firefox, and Internet Explorer, and many. So okay, so those are the types of. So now when I was talking about internet or networks. So now you cannot access internet without having a network. Whereby your network can be either local area network, wide area network, or metropolitan network. But now we have another classification of networks, whereby we are talking of wired network and we are talking about wireless network. What type of network do you use when you are at home? Do you use Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is an example of a wireless network. You don't need your phone to be wired, having wires connected. It's wireless. It can catch through the waves. Okay? What type of a wireless network can you think of? Which kind of information or network do you access through MTC? It is also wireless. Now, when we are talking of wired, now this is when the cables are involved in, like in workspaces, we use what we call wired network. So, network comes in two different forms, wired and wireless. Wireless, there is no connection of any cables at all. And then in wired, we have cables that are connected linked with within our network. Okay, so now when it comes to networks, now through wires, now that is the way we structure our network. And how do we structure our network? We structure our network with what we call network topologies. So network topologies comes in a form of, like, we have a bus topology, we have a star topology, we have a ring topology, and we have mesh topology. We just need to know how to classify the difference between a bus topology, star topology, ring topology, and mesh topology. Okay, now those comes in the form of the wired network. Okay, because there is cables involved in. So are the things clear? Are we getting to understand the whole simple concept of computer? Okay, one thing about now networks. What do we do on networks? People need to have emails. Do you have an email account? Okay, now coming to Google search, we search for emails. Now we have domains and stuff. Emails is one way of sending and receiving messages via internet. So now people, we have now different domains that we can use. We have Yahoo, okay, whereby you can say my email, for example, can be beatrice@yahoo.com. And then another one we have is Gmail. Gmail is part of Google, so I can have beatrice@gmail.com. Okay, and this .com, what we call domains, but in this subject, domains, they are not part of you guys. You don't really need to stress yourself with domains and get to understand them deep. But what I'm urging you is that if you don't own an email, you should open up one email. Search for Yahoo, and then you can sign up and then have or own an email. And then for Gmail as well, it's one of a domain as well. You can, and it does not limit you from how many emails you can have. As long as they are different domains, you can have as many emails as you want. Okay, so now let's recall from what we have covered so far in this subject. We spoke about what a computer is. We spoke about the different types of input devices and output devices. How is the data processed? That's where we didn't cover much, okay, through the central processing unit. And we also spoke about the servers as their means of storing information. And then when it comes to networks, it's very important to access information from the servers. And when we are accessing information, we are talking of the networks, like let's say two computers connected to one another, sharing with the purpose of sharing information and access them from the server. And what else did we talk about? We also spoke about different types of operating systems and different versions of operating systems. And then last but not least, we also spoke about now internet And then the purpose of internet is like for storage of information and searching for information, which is worldwide. We can, even if you go to Europe, you can still search the same information that you were searching in Africa. That's why it's called World Wide Web. And how do we get on internet? We get on internet through search engines. And what is needed to be in our computers, it is what we call web browsers. And I spoke of different types of web browsers that they can help us to access now information from internet. And then last but not least, you need to open up emails account, because emails is one way of sending messages and receiving messages from other people, and you just need to understand parts of emails. But apart from that, we will need to know how to use internet. We need to know how to type. We will need to know how to print information from the computers, and that is what we need to know. Now, also understand the difference between data and information. They are not the same. Data is raw facts that we put inside the computers, but what do we get out of the computers? It's now a processed data, which is called an information. Okay, if you may need to know more, you will need to know where to reach me at my email address, and that's where you can be able to reach me. Otherwise, from my side, I am ending here.